Christy Brower, and you're listening live here on Marvelous Monday on 12radio.com. I'm so excited to be here with you, and as always, enjoy this time with you on Mondays. I like thinking about what we're going to talk about. I like prepping for it. It's really a lot of fun for me. So I appreciate that you show up and that you enjoy it and you want to be a part of it. You can participate in the show in several ways. You can do that by going to the chat room, which you go to 12radio.com and you click on chat, and that will bring you into our Facebook group. If you haven't joined before, just ask to join, and my producer Scott will let you right in the door. Now, I am live in there in two ways. I have a chat going, which is the pinned post at the top of the page. You'll see it. It's my banner. It says Kindred Spirits with Christy Brower. Comment below. That's where you can post questions, comments, requests for readings, whatever you want to share. You can share that there. And you'll also find that I am live on Facebook Live there in the chat room. And so you can watch the show if you would like to watch the show. I'm also live on YouTube because I know some people aren't big fans of Facebook, but maybe you still want to watch the show. You can do that by going to Christy Brower on YouTube, and you will find my live stream airing right now. And you are entirely welcome to comment there, ask questions there. I can see those comments as well. So if you've decided to give Facebook the boot, but you like to watch the show and you want to be able to ask me a question, this is how you do it. So I'm excited to share that all with you, and I'm really excited to just be here with you today. Something happened in my office and all of the light just got darker. I have no idea why. It was really strange. So I know I saw it on the video happen. So I guess you guys will let me know if you can't see me. Right now I can see myself, but it just changed. Everything got darker. That was really strange. So maybe a light bulb went out in the light on the ceiling in this room. I'm not sure. Kind of freaked me out, to tell you the truth. Okay, so I want to get right to our topic because I always have a topic. I share a card and a stone and a meditation. And my article that comes out in the Power Peak every Saturday night, which is Mark Husson's newsletter, which you can sign up for at 12house.com, my article is called Christie's Quill, and that comes out every Saturday night. And it is the topic then of my show. So I like to share with you up front what we're going to talk about. So if this is something that you're interested in, you can certainly be here for it. So I wanted to talk about choices and decision making today and fear. It's been a topic that's come up quite a bit with my clientele and just with people that I know in general. And so I feel like it's a great opportunity to talk a little bit about these issues, because these are issues that plague all of us as humans throughout our lives. And I think they're being discussed fairly often because sometimes we get in a rut and we need to get out of it. And this is the way to do it. We talk about it, right? Okay, so I'm wondering if you've been finding yourself faced with a lot of choices and not sure where to begin. It's been a common theme around me lately, and so I wanted to offer some ideas about how to narrow those choices down wisely and also how to deal with fear that comes up when there are choices to be made. The first thing you have to do is you have to take a look at your options and determine which ones are things that you actually want versus what other people think you should choose. This is the first thing when it comes to decision making that I think we all have a challenge with at one time or another in our lives. Sometimes there are things that other people really want us to do. And it may not be the thing that we really want to do. It might just be that this is something that another person, maybe someone who loves us, someone who we're close to in our lives, thinks would be the best choice for us, even though maybe we're not so sure. The thing that you have to remember is that you're in charge of your happiness and you have to choose what you want. We all feel pressure from people in our lives to choose what they think we should want. But in order to really move forward, you have to be in charge of your choices. So it's really important that you take a minute to, first of all, consider, is this a choice that I want to make? If it isn't, then please don't. And please talk with your loved ones and help them to understand, that you're doing what makes you happy and you want to stay where you're at and you're not looking to make a change. However, if a choice has come up and it is something that you want, then let's talk about some other things that you can do. So now that you've narrowed your choices down to the ones you want, put them in order of priority. What is the most important thing to address right now? I think it's really easy for us to get overwhelmed in this particular area and have too many choices, too many changes at once. It's really, really important that we take the time to choose wisely, choose slowly, to change one thing at a time in our lives and not have to do it all at once if we can help it. So remember that. Then lay out a step by step game plan so that you're giving yourself one decision to make. Choose what you want to do and give yourself time to adjust before moving on to the next item on your list. That also means breaking something down into step by step choices. Maybe you're going to move. Well, the decision to move is one big choice, right? But all of the steps in between now and the time that you move are there's tons of them, right? Hundreds of them probably, really, when you break it down. And so you make the first choice, decide what your outcome's going to be, and then you make the first step, and then you make the second step, and then you make the third step. And sometimes it helps us to write this down. I know that I have a tendency to get overwhelmed by a big task, and so then I just don't do it. When in reality, if I could break it down into steps, so a bunch of small little tasks, it's much easier to do. So that's what I encourage you to do, is to consider that. And then you remember, this is key, that very few choices are permanent. And if you don't like the outcome, then just choose again. It's okay. Many of us have a false belief that we have to live with our consequences. That somehow, if we've made a bad choice or a choice that we don't like, that we have to live with it as our punishment. And that is not okay. That is not okay to do to yourself. It is not okay to do to other people. It's bunk. If you're not happy, choose again and move forward. We don't have to suffer for our choices. It is okay to forgive yourself and go, okay, this isn't what I thought it was going to be. I'm going to try something else and move forward. And that's okay to do. Sorry, guys, the Facebook Live in the chat room has crashed. So I'm going to see if I can get it back without being too distracting. So I'm doing two things at once here. But I will get a video going again. I don't know what happened, but sometimes these just crash. Okay, there we go. And I believe we're coming back right now. So I'm still live on YouTube, and I lost the video on Facebook, but I got it back. So if you're in the chat room and you lost the video, you can just find it again. This idea that few choices are permanent, I think, is really key to all of this, and this is really where the fear comes in. That we're afraid that if we make the wrong choice, we might be stuck with something forever. Well, I can't think of very many things in our lifetimes that would be permanent. There are very few things that can't be changed again, a new choice made, a new direction. Those things can happen in our lives. I know because I grew up with this. My dad really believed that you got one job in your lifetime and you stuck with it, and you were loyal to it, you stuck with it forever. That was a real that was kind of a difficulty for me because I've had a lot of jobs, mostly because I've changed direction in my life a couple of times pretty significantly. And I think my parents struggled with that at first. They worried, was I going to be okay? Was I going to be successful? Could I support myself? Those kinds of things. When I was in high school, I wanted to be a music teacher. I was a clarinetist and I wanted to be a music teacher. And so I took private lessons. The first 2 years of college, I was a music major. When I went to move on to the university that I was going to, I was in a car accident in the summer before school started. And when that happened, I injured my right shoulder and I had to move home. I was living in another state getting residency because I had a music scholarship. I had to move home and recover and just get a job and take a break from school so that I could recover from this. And I decided not to go back into music after I put all of this time and energy into it. Well, the big issue really was that when you're at that level of competitive musician at college level, if you lose a year, which is what I lost, um, you'll never get back. That whole year you've lost skill while everyone around you has been gaining it. And it's really impossible to get back to that same level and be at the same level as your cohorts in school. And I knew that. I knew how competitive it was. And I just, all of that whole experience shifted the direction of my life pretty dramatically. And so I went from, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to college. I'm going to be a musician and a teacher to, I'm not really sure what I'm going to do. And so I took some time off from school and just worked. That really concerned my parents because they thought maybe I wasn't going to finish. I had an associate's degree from a junior college, and my parents really wanted me to go on, and get a further degree. And it took me a while to figure out what I wanted to do, and I switched directions and actually finished college as a social worker. And so I have a degree in social work, and I worked in that field for 8 years. And then I switched again. And this was an even bigger switch because I went from being a professional social worker with a good job with good benefits to being a self employed professional psychic. You can imagine the fear that went around that choice and the fear that what if I could never go back? Well, at first, I maintained my social work license for the first 3 years that I was working as a professional psychic because it was sort of my fallback. Well, if this doesn't really work out for me, if I can't really support myself, I could go back to social work. And then a time came when I really realized that I was committing fully to being a professional psychic and master healer and doing the work that I do now. And I produce radio and do radio and all of this stuff. And I let my license lapse. And that was the next decision that had a lot of fear around it. I will say that the fear wasn't really my fear. It was the fear of other people around me going, "You're giving up something." Well, the thing is, I'm still a social worker. And if I ever wanted to go back into my field, I would have to go back and take a test to get my license back. It's not impossible, but it would be challenging. But I knew it was the right move. I knew I was doing the right thing. I knew where I was headed and I knew that it was going to be okay. But I did have some questions around me about that particular issue. And I remember that, what if you can't go back on this kind of thing? And, I remember thinking, I don't want to go back on this, I don't want to go back to mainstream social work. I want to keep doing what I'm doing. I love what I do. But I remember the fear around it. And so I really had to stick to my guns and, my own priorities and really trust myself and my intuition that this was the right move to make. But I know about the fear around it because there was some fear for me about what if I can't make enough money? I mean, that's the reality of the world that we live in, right? We have to make enough money to support ourselves, even no matter what we're doing. And that's why many of us are not working in the fields that we love, right? And it took me a long time. I mean, I was a social worker working on the side as a psychic and healer for a long time because I couldn't necessarily support myself. But then I made that leap and it happened. And I really had to trust myself and trust my gut about it. So we're going to talk a little more about fear as we go along in the show. But I think that's one of the things that can really happen is that you can be stalled by fear. If you're struggling to decide, and this comes up with my clients regularly, if you're having a difficult time deciding what to do in a particular situation, you should wait. There are times that we're just waiting for the right circumstances to fall into place before we can really choose the next step. And so it doesn't matter if you don't know the answer right now. If you don't know the answer right now, then it isn't time. There's no rush. And I know we feel like there's a rush, that we have to move forward with something and we feel like there's a rush. But there really isn't a rush. It should happen when you feel it's right to happen. Have you ever forced anything? Have you ever pushed something and made it happen, even though it was hard and there were barriers and it felt like nothing was going to happen? And so you really had to strong arm something and then it didn't work out or it wasn't what you really wanted. So trust that. If you don't know for sure, wait until you do. And you will. I know that. I know that about all of us. We will know. We do know what is the right thing to do in any situation. But if we try to push it forward, then we often will lose out on something. So allow it to be whatever it's going to be and give it time. Sometimes it really helps to use a divination tool like a pendulum or a deck of divination cards or something like that that can, give you confirmation. If you feel like you pretty well know, you also can always get a reading. over at 12listen.com, because that's another, I work with a lot of people who just want confirmation, just need a validation that, hey, this does this feel right to you? Yes, okay, and we move forward with it. So you getting a little help here and there is fine. If you want me to ask any yes or no questions in the chat today, please tell me, and I will. So I use my cards to do that. They're shuffled half right side up, half upside down, so that we can do that. So how you do that is you draw you shuffle your cards and you ask your question, and then you draw three cards. Well, depending on how many are right side up and how many are upside down, that gives you a yes or no. So if at least two are right side up, then that's pretty close. That's a yes. That's a pretty solid 65-ish percent, 75% yes. If all three are right side up, that's 100% yes. If there are two upside down, that's about a 65, 75% no. If there are three upside down, then it's a definite no. So that's one easy way to just get some validation and clarification if you're struggling with what to do. The other thing is that's really important for you to do is to trust yourself and trust your gut. So often I speak to people who already know the answer to their question, who already know the choice that they want to make, but there's some fear around it that has often to do with judgment of other people or fear of failure that is stopping them. And so they often just need a little bit of validation on my part, or on somebody else's part, that, hey, yeah, you're right, this is going to go okay, you're doing the right thing. So that's really important. Those are kind of the steps that I recommend if you're struggling with challenges. And we're going to talk a little bit more about fear. The first thing that I want to do, well, let me say one thing first, and then we're going to do our meditation. So I want to share with you, and this will just be in the chat. I'm sorry, I don't have any other way to do it right now. I will soon have copies of these cards so I can share them with you. So a new card in my Kindred Spirits Energy Oracle deck is the Fear card. So I'm going to share that with you right now. So I decided to add just the energy of some challenges to the deck, that we can then use as a, as a sort of as another guidepost. So I'm going to bring this up here. This is the Fear card, and I hope you like the image. It's another fractal, and it definitely looks like how I feel when I'm struggling with fear. The message when the Fear card comes up is barriers, destruction, sabotage, spinning your wheels, and disappointment. These are all things that can be happening around you. The challenge is getting discouraged, pushing for an outcome, and impatient. So getting discouraged and giving up, forcing something when it's not really ready, or just or being really impatient, and that makes you miserable. The stone is tiger iron, and I'm going to hold tiger iron up in the video, and then I will also post a postcard of it in the chat. So tiger iron is tiger's eye that has hematite included in it. This is a really fun stone. It's a really positive stone. The meditation around fear. Dear universe, please guide me to allow change direction, and see disruption as a way for change to happen. So that's the message in the Fear card when it comes up. And I want to, let's see, I want to share the tiger iron image in the chat room so that you can see it. So tiger iron brings a sense of safety, calms fear, and boosts confidence, because it's a combination of a solar plexus stone and a root chakra stone. So it's a great combo to help you in a time of fear and in a time of change or decision making where you may be feeling a little disrupted. So it's a great stone to help with that. Now, the meditation that I want to do is the same meditation that we did last week, which is the Archangel Michael meditation. But I felt like it still applies, in that, if you feel that you need to be protected from anything when you are making a change, if you're fearing something that wouldn't be positive, then maybe you need some protection. And so I thought Archangel Michael would be a great guide for us when we're dealing with choices and fear. So let's do this meditation, and then we'll talk about this some more. So just close your eyes and take a few deep breaths. Allow your body to settle. and your mind to go quiet. Call in Archangel Michael. Ask him to come to you and protect you. Visualize Michael's bright blue energy surrounding you in a protective bubble. Feel the blue energy forming a protective barrier around you, keeping out all negativity. This energy acts like a force field, protecting you from unwanted energy. Take a moment to tell Michael all of the things you would like to be protected from or any fears that you have right now. Remember that his blue energy can protect you from negative energy, emotions, people, situations, and anything else you need to feel protected from. Now visualize love and all positive energy passing through the force field that the protective blue bubble that Michael has put up around you, but unnecessary energy bouncing off, keeping you safe. So anything that you want to be protected from is not allowed to penetrate the bubble that Archangel Michael has created for you. And now thank Archangel Michael for his love and protection. And when you're ready, take 3 deep breaths. And open your eyes. Okay, I hope you enjoyed that meditation. It is the featured meditation on my website right now. And so you can, if you go to christybrower.com and just click on um, a click on the featured meditation, then you will find that there. Okay, I wanted to take a moment to check the chat room, see what you all have to say. Facebook will let me. And be, feel free to post your questions, comments, requests for readings in the chat or on the videos, and I will get to as many of you as I can. I would love to hear questions about fear and yes and no questions, particularly, although, if you have other things, you can ask those as well. Let's see. Okay. Maureen says it took me a long time to realize do what you love and love what you do. It just makes the flow so much easier. And it does. It does. If you can choose to do what you really want to do, please do that. You will be happier. You will contribute more into this world if you can do that. I know that's not always um, a possibility, but when it is, please do. That really matters. Let's see. Ah, okay. Got a few questions here with some yes, no's. So I will get to those here in a little bit. So feel free to post more of those if you want to, you guys. I just think it's important for us to talk about fear. First of all, I think it's important to put words to it because we all have it, right? We are all people with fear. If you are a human being, you have fear. It is something that we all experience. And sometimes making a change in your life or really stepping out into something or making a decision or a choice that matters to you can come with quite a bit of fear when it comes to, is this going to work out for me? How are other people going to feel about it? Is it going to really be what I expect it to be? Am I right about this situation? I hear that one quite a bit from people. I think I want to do this. Am I right about it? And I think that's a valid question to ask yourself. And something else that we should consider is that if you feel like it's right for you, then it is. And it might be something, I mean, can you imagine what people around me thought when I said, yeah, I'm going to leave my job as a social worker to go be a professional psychic? A lot of people thought that was a little crazy, but it was the right thing for me. I knew it was. And that's not the right thing for everybody. And that, that's okay, but if you know that something is the right thing for you in your heart, you should do it. You really should. And if other people don't agree with it, then you might need to help them to understand. But in the long run, being responsible for your own happiness really truly does mean taking those steps to do the things that make you happy. And this is one of those times when sometimes we have to overcome fear. One thing that I think is really important for us to realize is that we need a really firm foundation in our lives in order to overcome fear. So this can be completely unrelated to whatever your question you're asking right now or whatever you're struggling with. It's more about, do you have a firm foundation? Do you feel safe and secure in your life? Are all of your basic needs met? Do you have healthy relationships? Do you live in a place that is adequate for you? Do you have everything that you need? That sense of security, do you have the money that you need to take care of yourself? That sense of security is really, really important. We need it. We don't tolerate fear very well when we are lacking those particular things. And so this is something to really look at if you are looking to make a decision that will change things. Is, do I feel safe where I am right now? Do I feel comfortable? Do I feel like no matter what decision I make, I'm going to have what I need? Those things matter. They really do. And if you don't feel safe, if you do have some instability in your root chakra, some instability in that sense of safety, security, and stability in your life, then you can really run into trouble when it comes to dealing with fear, because that instability will really amplify whatever fear you might have. I talk a lot about unstable root chakras, and when our root is unstable, we're not in a place where we feel safe and secure and stable. Anything that causes fear can set off the fight or flight response inside the body. And so that creates all kinds of anxiety and, fear and nightmares and, being too afraid to act because our bodies are telling us there's something seriously wrong, even when there isn't. That's what happens with an unstable root chakra is it sets off the fight or flight response inside your body for minor things, or things that aren't really things to be feared, they're just changes. Or maybe they're not things to be feared at all. They might just be a trigger for a past experience. So, having a stable root chakra is really, really important in this particular conversation, because if you don't, then every time you go to make a change, you set off that fight or flight response inside your body, and it feels like intuition. It feels like your body telling you you should not do this. And it's false. It's a false message. It's not real. Now, of course, we sometimes have intuition that says, hey, don't do this. This is a bad idea, right? Okay, that is real. But if you have an unstable root, and every time you go to make a big change and there's fear around it, you've got to really look at, are you getting a false positive here? Is your root chakra setting off the fight or flight response inside your body and causing you to be terrified and scared because your root chakra says you should, when in reality that's just becoming coming from that unstable root and is not coming from reality, not coming from, there is really something wrong with this situation. So that's really key. I think that that's something I really want to stress in this conversation today, is that we've got to look at our root chakras. If you already feel scared or unstable or unsafe in your situation, adding anything to it that adds to that sense of unsafety or, fear or, danger even, you're not going to be able to tolerate it. And that's just normal. That's just because you're a human being and human beings need stability. So let's talk about that for a minute. If that is the case for you, before you make big decisions, you first have to deal with the sense of safety inside your body and inside your life. Now, just because you have an unstable root chakra and feel that things are unsafe, it doesn't mean that they are now. It means that at one time they were. This comes often from childhood. If you grew up in a situation where things didn't feel safe, where you maybe didn't always have what you needed, or you experienced neglect or abuse, or there were problems in your parents' relationship that made you feel insecure, you may have not developed a stable root chakra as a child. When we're around the age of 8, our energy bodies settle into the configuration that we see in them as adults. Before that, our energy is much more fluid than that. Our chakras move around. There's a lot of how little kids are, they aren't that, they don't have that stable foundation. They get it from the people around them. We get that from those who raised us. Well, if we didn't get that from the people who raised us, then we might not have it now as adults. It's really important to look at this and to consider, is that something that you're struggling with? And is that what holds you back in making choices and changes? Are you afraid? Are you more afraid than what the situation really warrants? That's one thing that happens pretty frequently. Or are you just always thinking the worst in every situation? Well, if those things are the case, we should really be taking a look at your root chakra and looking at your stability there. Root chakra instability is something that is healable in the energy body. It is not a one session deal, it is a multiple session deal, sometimes over a few months. It really depends on the person. I've worked with some people who took a couple of years to stabilize, but that was some really extreme situations. Most people, it takes around 6 months for stability to happen. And what happens so your root, when it's unstable, it swings like the pendulum of a clock. Instead of sitting at the base of your spine where it should, giving you that sense of security and foundation, it swings back and forth. And as it's swinging back and forth, that's the movement of it does not provide a sense of stability in the energy body or the physical body, and that's why it can set off the fight or flight response. So as a healer, it is my job to stabilize your root chakra, and I know how to do that. I have developed a system that I use, and I don't know if anyone else uses this system because it's just my own, but I have developed a system to stabilize your root chakra. And I even have, I'll post this for you. I even have an email reading that is a root chakra stabilization. It's an assessment of your root. And then I have another one that is just an ongoing root chakra stabilization that you can use for further appointments. Now, you can always call me on the phone lines to do this, but you don't have to. You can use this series of email readings to do it. I have intentionally made this inexpensive because it really, really matters that people have access to this kind of energy work, because as humans, we all need to have a stable root chakra in order to function. And so I have made it an intentional part of my work on this planet that I make this available to people at an inexpensive rate, because I want, if you have an unstable root, I want you to be able to get the help that you need. That really matters. I have watched life changing experiences with people with unstable root chakras. So I have, okay, so I'm going to post all of the things I have. I have a reading that is 4 weeks to a stable root chakra. So it's an email reading, but then I will contact you 4 times, so once a week for 4 weeks, and work on you. And by distance, and we'll communicate through the email readings. And so you can just do it all this way if you want. And this is a really good start in keeping yourself stable. And then I have it done a few other ways too. So I'm going to just share all this with you. So if you go to one2listen.com and you find my name, Christy Brower, and you go under my email readings, you're going to find all of this is there. But if you are in the chat room, I'm just going to share some of these with you so that you can see what I have available. Because this work really matters to me. I love doing it, and I want to be able to help. And I, in this choices and decision making discussion, this always comes up in my mind that that is an issue that you may have, that if you feel paralyzed, if you feel like you can't move forward, if you feel so stuck and afraid to make a decision or change something, then you may really need to have a root chakra evaluation and some root chakra work, because that is often what causes that sense of paralysis, is fear that, something bad's going to happen. And it doesn't mean that never does anything bad happen, because things do, but most of the time, those fears are unfounded. Have you ever been really afraid of something, and then when the actual event occurs, you're like, wow, I don't know why I was afraid of that. It turned out to be fine. We do that as humans, don't we? And having an unstable root chakra can really contribute to that. And so I've shared in the chat room my 4 weeks to a stable root chakra, which is a 4 week series. Then I have root chakra evaluation, which is just a one-time email reading where I'll take a look at your root and tell you what I see there and what work might need to be done, and I'll start the job of stabilizing it. And then I have my root chakra stabilization ongoing, which is, if you're working with me on root chakra stabilization and you feel like you need another session, you use that email reading, and then I will just stabilize your root and tell you what I saw, and we'll keep working on it. Always with root chakra stabilization, there are jobs for you to do as well as jobs for me to do. So I do the energy work, and then I give you some uh, like homework, sort of some activities to do that help you to stay stabilized. And they're mostly about your thinking, because it's a habit in our thinking that keeps us unstable. And it's what will return us to a place of instability when we've already if you've gotten to a place of stability and then you're knocked back out of place again, you will usually find that the reason for that is your thoughts. And so I give you some activities for you to do that help you to change the way that you think, that will assist you in staying more stable. So I just wanted to share all of that because I think it's really helpful when we're talking about choices and decision making and the fear that can get involved with them, that we look at this stable root chakra situation and ask ourselves, how stable am I? Am I causing myself a lot of fear over nothing? Is this really something to be afraid of? And if you notice this sense of dread or doom that comes up over every change, then I would suggest that we need to take a look at your root chakra and see what's going on there. Okay. All right. So that's everything I wanted to get to today. So now I'd like to get to some of you here in the chat room. You've asked me some questions. Let's see. Ita in the video says, I was wondering if you could pick up the messages and energies around me. I feel so much fear, and it feels so difficult to get past through some things. Okay. Let's take a look, Ita. You're feeling a lot of fear, huh? I'm sorry to hear that. Okay, so first of all, Ita, you have a solar plexus chakra attachment from someone else in your life. And when you have an attachment like this, first of all, it drains your life force energy. So it makes you feel weaker than you really are, because you don't have as much energy flowing through you as you need. Excuse me, I need to take a drink. The other issue with this attachment is that it is a pipeline of emotional energy going back and forth between you and this other person. And when that happens, you're feeling a whole lot of fear and anxiety that someone else is feeling. And so it doesn't mean that you don't have your own fears, you definitely do, but there are things that are contributing to this because you're feeling someone else's emotions inside of you, and so you're sort of trying to process their fear and yours. So the things that I want to work on with you here on the radio, and we can definitely go into this deeper if you want to give me a call at when to listen, because obviously there's more to this. But what I would like to do is pull that attachment and give you some relief from that. And I think that's going to make a big difference in your energy body and in how you're feeling about fear. Okay. So let's go ahead and pull that cord. Just going to pull it, and I'm going to heal that energy and then I'm going to send it back to where it came from. That part really matters because that energy belongs to someone else. It's part of their energy body that reached out at you, and it needs to go back to them. It always needs to go back to them in a whole state. So I never cut any energy. I only pull cords. I never cut them because I don't want to do damage to anyone's energy body. There we go. We'll just send that back. Now I want to do a little healing in your solar plexus to help you with the energy that has been struggling there. So this energy gets really sluggish and heavy when you have an attachment that's drawing life force energy from you, and also when you have the heaviness of somebody else's emotions all built up in there. So let's just clear that. So Ita, I know that this is not the solution to everything, but it is the beginning. It is the easiest part to solve. So I did clear that for you. And now I would appreciate it if, you can give me a call over at When to Listen and we'll work on it a little more deeply. But this is going to give you some relief pretty quickly, okay? All right. Thank you for that question. Let's see. Maureen says, Christy, if you have time, may I please have an energy clearing? My left knee that I had the meniscus repair in 2015 was re-injured. Oh no. Trying to work through the pain while I wait for my insurance company to approve the Synvisc joint injection. Okay. Yes, Maureen, I'm so sorry to hear that. Darn it. You just can't get on top of this, huh? It's always something. Okay, so I'm gonna do some energy work on your knee that is specific to injuries as far as reducing inflammation and bringing down pain and pulling anything out of there that's causing irritation. So I'm just going to do that for you really quick. There we go. Okay. So I feel it in a way draining, which is just draining energy right now. One of the things that happens with injuries is there's a lot of focus put on them, and then the body is putting a lot of focus on them as well. And so I feel like the energy in a knee or in a joint will get bigger and bigger and bigger from all of that attention, and that it's important that we remove all of that energy and that we clear it out of there, because it creates this sense of pressure that's very painful. So I do feel like that will help you. I'm so sorry about that. Let's see. Oh, good heavens. Facebook is jumping around on me here. Let's see. Norella says, can you do a scan and remove the excess energy? Can't quite able to do myself. Thanks in advance. Okay. Have I made a good choice by taking a job? Oh, okay. Let's do the energy clearing first, and then maybe we can do a yes, no for you. So, Norella, I do feel this roaring sensation in my energy body, like that yours has gotten way too big. That can happen. That happens to all of us. Sometimes we get an energy body that's too big. And you just pull that energy all up out of there, out of the crown of your head. There we go. Bring that down. There we go. I feel that so much better, Norella. Thank you for that question. Okay. I think that you'll be feeling quite a lot better now. No, sorry. I'm just looking at my cards here to make sure I've got them half and half. I think I do. So we're going to ask the question. Is it a good choice that Norella took a job? And we're going to pull 3 cards. Okay, and then we're going to start drawing cards. See what we get here. Okay, so Norella, I get 2 upright, 1 upside down. So I'm going to say that in general, this is a good thing, but that there can be some challenges with it. So I would suspect that there are some parts of it that maybe you're not as happy with, or maybe it's a little overwhelming at first for you to work, but in the long run, yes, the answer is yes, that this is a good choice. So thank you very much for that question. That's great. I'm excited for you that you did that. Okay, let's see. Ree says, can you please energy cleanse my husband? He is suffering from severe allergies. Oh, I'm so sorry. Gosh, this is sure the time of year for it. I've been having more struggles this year than I have had for a really long time. So let's do that. So what I'm going to do, Ree, is I'm going to clear that pressure that's in his head. I feel that really strongly. And whenever we have a physical situation going on in our heads, it really affects the energy there. And having too much stimulation or input, which I see allergies as, really makes the crown and third eye too big. And so then you have this huge amount of pressure in your head that you have to deal with, along with all of the symptoms of allergies. So I'm just going to clear that and bring that pressure down. And that should bring him some relief as far as his symptoms are concerned. There we go. Okay, so I think that will help. Thank you for your question. Yeah, okay, Maureen says, can I have another body scan to remove this stubborn dark entity? Oh, darn it, Maureen. Okay, let's take a look here. I don't feel like what we're dealing with here really is a dark entity. I feel like it is a thought form attachment from someone who has had a particularly strong reaction to you and is continuing to, basically attack you with their thoughts. Not that they are aware that that's what they're doing, they're not. But this is somebody who is rather obsessive in their thinking, and so they're having a difficult time letting go of something that has happened in the past. And that's why this keeps coming back. For most people, when you pull an attachment like this, they really stop thinking about it and can move on. But some people, if they're really obsessive in their thinking, latch on to something and then they cannot let it go. I feel like that's what's happening here. I'm just going to pull that for you again. I'm so sorry. I'm going to drop that attachment into the vortex of white light and heal it. And then we're going to send it back to the person that it came from. So I want you to think about this, Marlene, a little bit about who this may be from and how you might be able to shift it for them in their thinking. If there's something that you can say to them that might change it, or something that you can do that might change it. But I feel like this is a person who's really obsessing on something that happened and they just can't seem to let it go. And so I do feel like speaking to them would help if there's a way to help shift this a bit. So think about what that might be and see what you can do to talk to them a little bit and see if they can shift their anger off from you. That would really help this situation quite a lot. Okay, so there we go. I pulled that and cleared it, so you should be feeling quite a bit better. So sorry that keeps coming back. Raven says, I have difficulty staying grounded. Is this most likely due to an unstable root chakra or because I'm too busy in my head and thinking too much in front of a computer? I do feel very much like this is a unstable root chakra, Raven. Now, being on the computer a lot and being really in your head definitely is it's kind of a chicken or the egg kind of situation as far as which is causing the other, because an unstable root chakra will cause an overactive crown chakra. That's just a part of the deal. So having one, probably just the always being in your head and being on the computer exacerbates it, but ultimately the cause of it is an unstable root chakra. So that's something that we can work on together some more, to work on that and stabilize your roots, because that's really, really important. That's a real key um, to staying grounded and connected. If you feel like you can't, it might be because your root is unstable. Okay, now Karen has a yes or no question for us. She says, would love a yes no reading. Will my husband be settled with work in the next couple of weeks? Okay, let's see. Will he be settled? Yes, no. Sometimes it helps to just get a very black and white answer. So we've got Okay. We're at 50-50 here. Let's see. What do we have? So I have a no on this, Karen. I have two cards upside down, one card right side up. So the question about and remember that you asked a question that was time sensitive. Doesn't mean that it will never happen, but it's not going to happen in the next 2 weeks. So I think that's important. Always to remember how your question is worded, what that may mean for you, as far as that it doesn't mean that it won't ever be settled, but it can mean that you can um, not count on it quite yet. Okay, so thank you for your question. Sorry about that. Let's see. Jane says I'm traveling east for the next 2 weeks. Curious if Maxwell Smart Cat will be okay while I'm away. Jane, I feel like you will be okay, but one thing I would like to encourage you to do is reach out from your heart to his and make a connection with him every day. I learned how to astral project many years ago, and the reason that I learned how to do it is because I wanted to be able to check on my dogs and cats when I'm out of town. And I know that it helps very much to make a connection to them, to remind them that you're okay, that you're coming home, to check with them that is if they're okay. I feel like you will be, but please reach out and make sure that that you have time where you can, make that connection for him, and that will help him to feel fine while you're gone. Okay. Let's see. Terry says, "What is fear of success?" Well, fear of succeeding is kind of a common thing because who knows what might come out of that. When you succeed into something, sometimes it grows bigger than you expected. Sometimes it's more work. Sometimes there's more expected of you than you wanted to give. And, there's that belief that we have that the higher you climb, the harder you fall. And so if you succeed at something really big, then you have to then maintain it forever, potentially, or for the rest of your life, or for however long. And there's a lot of fear around that. If I succeed in this, am I going to be able to maintain this for this long period of time? So I feel like that's what fear of success is. And sometimes I think fear of success really comes from, do you actually want this in your life? Just because you can do something does not mean you have to do it, right? And so I think that's really important to remember, that just because you can do something does not mean that you have to. And if you are afraid of the outcome, if you are afraid of what will happen if you do succeed in something, you really need to look at, is it something that you actually want to do? Okay? Always remember that just because you can does not mean you have to. I think that's a key element to finding our own happiness. We don't have to take on absolutely everything. Just because we can do something, we may not want to do it, and that's okay. We don't have to. Well, my friends, I am out of time. I'm sorry. I know that I did not get to all of you, but you will be able to find me over at One to Listen this afternoon, and I will be available to help you with all of the things that we didn't get to today. But I just want to say thank you for being here. Thanks for participating on the videos and in the chat, and just for listening. Even if you're just hearing this in the archives or in the replays, I appreciate you being here, and I feel your energy around me. I will be back again on Wednesday morning with my show 1-2 Meditations, where every week I share different kinds of meditations. It's really a lot of fun. I hope you can join us. It's at 7 a.m. Pacific on Wednesday mornings, and then I will be back again on Thursday at 11 a.m. Pacific with the Psychic Sisters. As always, thanks for being here, and thanks for listening to 1-2 Radio, where we're changing the way you listen to the world.